Good day, everybody. Welcome to this webinar where we are going to have a look at the future of IoT and AI. We're joined today by Chris Lane and by Trevor Block. Before we start, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional owners of Australia and the land on which we meet, and pay our respect to elders past, present, and emerging. We extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. So why are we here? What are we discussing? We are in this era of rapid urbanization and technological advancement. The integration of IoT and AI into urban environments is transforming how we live, work, interact with our cities. This webinar is a gateway to understanding the critical role of governance in shaping the future of smart cities. So today we'll explore those opportunities, challenges, and the ethical considerations that arise as we harness the power of AI and IoT to create smarter, more efficient, and more sustainable urban ecosystems. Our experts, Trevor and Chris, will dig into some of the latest developments from their fields, share valuable insights, provide a bit of a roadmap to ensuring IoT and AI tech is enhancing the quality of life for city residents. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly introduce our two speakers. I'll give you a bio. They will each give us a little bit of insight into their organizations and the work that they do. And then I've got 3 questions for each of them. So if you have questions along the way, please feel free to drop them into the chat or into the Q&A section, and we will dig into them at the end. So let's start off with Chris. So Chris is the CEO of Smart AI Connect, which under his leadership has just secured a very exciting award, the Best Startup Solution of the Year for 2023. That's both Queensland and a National Eye Award. And Chris, you can maybe talk to the upcoming event that you were just describing before we started. So Smart AI Connect, Chris, when did you form?
The company's only just coming to 2 years old now. So pretty fast. Rapid development, but we've been working on the technology for a long time.
So you said that you've got about 20 years of R&D under your belt. Obviously, operational management. You've consistently been at the cutting edge of tech innovation for quite a while. Founding Coastal Watch in '98, introducing some really groundbreaking streaming and data services, as well as analytics on AWS's cloud. You've worked with Constellation Technologies on leveraging big data and worked in the IoT space for a long time. What else? What have we missed there about Smart AI Connect? Heaps.
I don't know, so many things like over the years, but someone asked me this the other day, and I remember being one of the 2 only students for AI at Griffith University in,
wow,
I can't remember, 2000 or something. So 1997. So so it's been a long journey of AI and watching it come to fruition.
And then if we shift back to Trevor, Trevor's the founder and Chief Technology and Products Officer for VROC. VROC is, Trevor is the driving force behind the company. So Trevor, you've got a background in traditional consulting and control system engineering, but you've leveraged your experience to establish VROC as a powerhouse in the field of industrial information tech. VROC is growing rapidly into an end-to-end data and AI platform that adds significant value to clients by harnessing time series data and breaking down silos. What else can you add there to a little bit of a description of your work?
Yeah, and I guess, VROC's born really out of that, controls and automation background, where we could see a lot of companies or a lot of industries collecting lots of data, and I suppose as Chris has seen as well, collecting lots of data but not really being able to understand what to do with it to get the value out of that data. So trying to find an easy way for them to extract value out of that data that they're already collecting. That's sort of what was the philosophy behind VROC and why we started it in the first place.
Sorry, I have a video that I'm going to play quickly. This is an overview from Chris on Smart AI's work. Let me just quickly push play.
Security Camera AI provides your organisation with a wealth of data to improve your business processes and provide better services for your customers. But AI fear is here, and legislative compliance will not be far behind. You can no longer be carefree with AI, but instead must be thoughtful and deliberate. Smart AI Connect helps you harness the benefits of Edge AI, protecting your organization through 4 key features: our vetted library of risk-assessed AI models, our suite of AI deployment management tools, our secure, audited data delivery services, and our AI compliance checklist questionnaires for your organization and your AI models. All of this is wrapped with regular AI compliance reports and a dashboard where you can review your AI compliance health. With Smart AI Connect, you can continue to grow your organization through camera analytics in a safe, managed, compliant environment.
So I'd like to jump right into what we're all here for, and that's to pick your brains a little bit. So let's start with you, Chris. Given your experience in AI and IoT, what strategies do you believe are essential for addressing critical issues of data privacy and security in IoT and AI applications, particularly within the context of smart cities?
Yeah, it was a good question to start with. I think one of the things that I'm seeing, both at a national, body level, is putting in place governance and risk compliance systems, which most frameworks that most organizations have. But you got to understand that IoT and AI, even in the area I work in, edge security AI, with computer vision, they're not exempt from these types of systems. So IoT and AI applications in these areas are not, have no exemption from these GRC reporting systems. Now, why? In my opinion, to date, most organizations, like I would say, including smart cities or industrial applications or even government bodies, haven't implemented this, right? It's a new thing, So why do you want to do that? Because secure data, you want to secure your data from unauthorized access and ensure confidentiality. That's why you put a GRC system in place. And to make smart city infrastructure, IoT and AI applications need to be up to date, and resistant to known threats, just like our firmware is to different systems. So I got asked that question the other day from the United States. I've got to comply with the GRC system. Is my AI application up to date, right? Because they're coming out every week, So you need, and also with this area, we continually monitoring already with cybersecurity, like traffic and traffic analysis on networks and all that. But do we really do? Right, currently we don't monitor AI applications, right, continuously. That with third parties. And I would say, in this area, implementing AI, regulatory audits and compliance checks, right, of your AI systems, can help identify shortcomings. And getting to the last 2 points, having a well-defined incident response system, because even in IoT and data and AI, you've got to have these fallback positions, understanding what's going on and implementing fallback positions for breaches or security measures, and implementing ethical guidelines as well in this area. So I get asked all the time, why aren't we implementing AI? What's going on? ChatGPT, all these systems are going on right now, and everyone's very excited about them. But unless you implement these governance and control measures around your platforms with key partners, you got to have partners to do this. The implementation of those processes and the acceptance inside the community and other organizations will be very low. And if you put these measures, these risk governance measures in place, then the adoption is going to be a lot faster across all these areas. So that's my take.
So my next question was around, you're an award-winning company. You've obviously had to navigate some regulatory compliance challenges in the IoT and AR sector. What lessons would you then pass on to other startups? What can other people learn from your experience?
It's important for everyone to know, this is my thing with anyone and any company, is that regulatory compliance in AI is in its draft, right? And internationally and nationally, it's coming. It's coming like a railroad. I can tell you right now. My estimate. Everyone asks me, when's this going to happen? When's this going to happen? Like, you know, I see underneath the covers, but I would say in 2024, 2025, there'll be regulatory frameworks around governments and national standards. So you got to make sure that you match the human right policies, the key pillars of privacy. So in Australia, I'm going to post some links for everyone that's listening to this webinar about the AI legislative requirements. What are the key ones that are coming? You know, how that, you know, key links to look at, and the ISO standards that are in draft, right?
Yeah, right.
Some of them are not in draft. So in that, if I had a recommendation for early companies and startups right now, I would say join the National AI Centers, right? It's free. CSIRO and the federal government put that up. It's called the RAIN Network, Responsible AI Network. And subscribe to their newsletters, right? And LinkedIn channels, right? Because they are working behind the scenes for all companies that are going to use AI, whether they're startups, big companies and all that, about how you navigate the field of implementing AI and regulatory responses, right? So and this is the field work, and in there, I'll put a link up, you know, for everyone to wear, but the CSIRO are running workshops on AI and AI adoption and readiness, right? So that's my recommendation. Join RAIN.
Join RAIN. So I was going to ask you about RAIN and whether you could shed light on the ethical considerations and initiatives that the forum is focused on. How are we tracking in terms of ensuring that there is responsible and ethical AI deployment, particularly within this realm of smart cities? Are we, you know, if you could benchmark us, where are we at the very beginning stages? Are we way more advanced than we think?
Like, you know, firstly, like, I know this is sort of question 3, right? That you asked me about. Like, I'm part of the National Industry Forum on AI. What is RAIN, the National AI Centers Network? It's the first program in the world, right? I'm honestly not joking, of any country that brought experts, regulatory bodies, and training organizations and practitioners together for responsible AI adoption, right? So it was right. All of us putting a piece in, like all these key people, like organizations, New South Wales government, you know, everyone. So there's 2 working groups out of that, so everyone should know, right? There's the AI think tank, which is about scaling responsible AI. So even Trevor that's here, right? If he joins RAIN, how can you discover other companies like Trevor's to be able to help you implement technology for your organization or city, you know? So there's the AI think tank. How do we do this at scale, right? So there's a whole heap of people on that. In there, I work in industry forum, and I'll leave it with you. This will blow everyone's mind a little bit, but my job in that forum is to support and strengthen Australia's sovereign capabilities, right?
Because how can we that? That's a pretty big remit.
How can we, you know, think about this? If we put all our AI and we develop all this AI technology in different companies in Australia, implement it, is it going to be hosted on third-party systems worldwide, like ChatGPT? What happens if ChatGPT shuts down tomorrow? Like, what's our sovereign capability about cloud infrastructure and AI systems?
Or the CEO is fired.
Yeah, or something like that. But yeah, exactly. But I inside the CSIRO, there's workshops everyone can watch, right? That talk about the implementation at the National AI Centre about how to do this and how to partner with organizations to do that. But when you develop AI systems, you got to be transparent and accountable. Like the City of Melbourne does a fantastic job in their web pages about being transparent. And then you got to mitigate risk on AI, ensuring fairness, like, and I'm raving on, but I'll give everyone an example of a bad type of AI running. I was in a city once and we were like, okay, what AI is running across our entire city? Not whether it's just video cameras. Someone put their hand up and went, okay, I'm running a GIS AI on detecting pools, like pools, illegal pools. And he said, we had a bit of a problem with that, right? And we said, what? Like, what's your problem? You're detecting pools, right? We didn't take into consideration that pop-up pools happen in summer in socio-economically areas of the city. So when we were having the satellite images come in, it was in summer when everyone puts their pop-up pool up. So our people would go out there looking at illegal pools and target the wrong suburbs, right?
Yeah, right.
Because it's just a pop-up. So that's about being biased, not to a social economic area. So you got to be really careful about how you implement AI, and you got to engage in like leaders and like across all the different areas. So that's my idea about ethical responsibility and transparency and all these types of things.
It's quite a good segue then. If you're wanting to be transparent, there's probably a huge component of that that's breaking down silos. And that's something that I think Virag, well, Trevor, you've done a lot of work on. So information silos, organization-wide silos, but my understanding is key to really enabling industrial IoT at scales, getting everyone on board and having solutions that work across a whole organization and for a whole probably value chain as well. Can you talk a little bit about how you see advancements addressing the challenge of interoperability within the IoT sector?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's exactly as you mentioned where we focus. I guess we're more on the operational side. We sort of work more bottom up, I guess, than on the governance side, working down. But I guess our philosophy is exactly as you mentioned, is that the councils that we work with have a huge asset base. They've got very varied assets. They've got lots of different teams that look at very specific parts of their city. So you might have, you've got sports centers, you've got buildings, you've got lighting, you've got irrigation, you've got roads, you've got all sorts of different asset types that different teams within the council focus on. And then even within those teams, you'll have different software running these things. And I guess the way that most councils procure, assets, they have separate procurement policies for each asset. So you'll procure a lighting system for an area or an irrigation system for a park or whatever. And so what you end up with is disparate software throughout the council that doesn't talk to each other, that controls specific things. So if you want to turn the lights on to the Christmas program at a specific park, someone's got to use the software for that park to go out there and turn the lights on to the Christmas program. And so I guess what we were trying to do is to take all of those disparate assets and bring them together onto one common platform, so that when you go to your city, you can see everything that your city does, and you can also control everything that it does. So if you want to turn the lights on at one park to the Christmas program, you can do it from one place. If you want to turn the lights on throughout the whole city onto the Christmas program, you can do it from the same place. And that provides, all of the different stakeholders within the council access to this information about what's going on with their city, but not only access to that information, it allows them to actually enact some changes, actually make changes to the way the city is actually functioning and see the results of those changes in real time. And I guess that's really where we see the benefits, is being able to not only understand what your city is doing, but be able to actually enact some sort of change from the same platform, and then be able to view the results of those changes and measure them and see, has that change been beneficial? Have we reduced our energy usage? Have we reduced our CO2? Have we improved the livability for our residents? What has the effect of that change been? And if it's been desirable, then that's good. If it's been undesirable, we can very quickly change it again. So really that was the key to what we're doing, is don't throw out all the assets you've got, just bring all those assets together onto a common platform to allow you to view and control what you're doing throughout your city and understand how the different things that your city does interacts with each other.
So getting that kind of end-to-end visibility and then interoperability functionality, across a whole city, I imagine is a pretty huge task. And there, it sounds like, and I imagine would be a lot of disparate systems being brought in. Can you maybe talk to some of the challenges that you've faced relating to that piece, that interoperability piece, and getting everything into the same platform to really create a scalable solution? And secondary part of that question is, are you finding that a lot of councils are going with sort of a slice by slice approach, where they're looking at one, bring in one piece of the puzzle and then extending it out or bringing in more systems?
Yeah. I mean, this has been, you're right. There's a whole host of different ways that councils are tackling this problem. And I mean, I guess really for us, you correctly identified the challenge is disparate systems throughout the city that all are of different ages. You know, I was at a tour of a council a few weeks ago, and they were still running some Windows 95 computers in the corner because they needed that to run, you know, some critical part of the city. It was on their critical asset register, but they still, because it's, you know, it's just been like that since the beginning. They're still running these old legacy systems.
Right.
And so, you know, you've got these sort of legacy systems, and they've got some brand new stuff that they've done for some new pump stations that they've built. So there's a whole host of different technologies that they've sort of built up over the years. And you're right, the challenge is how do we make all those technologies talk the same sort of language and get them across onto a common platform so we can get all of these benefits of integration. And I guess there isn't really a fantastic answer to say this is the one way we can do it. I guess what we found is that you need to really partner with someone that has experience in these areas, because really each one of these is different, and someone needs to have experience in how to connect these sort of different assets. And I guess that's essentially what we spent a lot of our time doing, is trying to figure out ways to rapidly, you know, bring these assets onto a common platform so that you can gain these benefits, remove all these Windows 95 PCs that are lying around the place.
Yeah, right.
But as Chris mentioned before, I mean, that's sort of the technical, I guess, challenges in scaling this sort of stuff. But as Chris was talking about, obviously there are regulatory and government, you know, policies and other regulations that do pose a challenge to some of the things that some of the councils are trying to do. So we were looking at a project that was even just looking at vehicles traveling through the city. So, you know, vehicles come into the city at one point, how do they traverse through the city to get out to where they're going, or to get out of the other side of the city? And we suggested, well, that's easy. We just put cameras up everywhere, and then we can monitor where all the vehicles are going. But of course, people don't want cameras everywhere.
No, right? That's a huge privacy issue if you're tracking where people are moving.
That's right. So, you know, how do councils, you know, how do they track vehicles? They want to know where vehicles are going. They need to account for the CO2 that the vehicles transiting their city are producing. So the councils in South Australia that we're working with, they're going to have to buy carbon credits for vehicles transiting their city and just emitting CO2. So, you know, understanding where these vehicles are going is going to be very important to them, and how can they affect that journey to reduce the amount of emissions that these vehicles produce. And so there are a whole host of challenges with governance and information security and privacy that need to be tackled here. Luckily for us, most of the equipment we work with are assets, like pumps and air conditioners and lighting controllers, and these sort of items which don't really have a lot of those same issues. But it is definitely a consideration that needs to be taken into consideration now.
So what about cost and ROI considerations associated with implementing IoT and AI solutions? Can you speak to or can you provide some guidance on how organizations could manage the cost and ROI while, I guess, ensuring long-term sustainability of a project or solution?
Sure. No, sure. That's a really good question, and that's something that we try and focus on quite specifically, because what we have seen in the past is a lot of the councils that we talk to have had a data warehouse project where they've set up a data warehouse and they've gathered all this data into this data warehouse, all this data from environmental sensors and whatever other monitoring they could do, or they could collect. And what they found is that it's great, we've collected all this data, but now we've got this huge data warehouse that no one's touching. It's on our website, no one's accessing it on our website. No one's managing it then, right? None of the people, well, no one's using that data because it's just a data warehouse full of data. It's not really providing any value to them. They don't want to get rid of the data warehouse because they've collected this data, but it's not providing any value. And I guess that's the kind of challenge with ROI and these sort of projects, is to try and find some sort of context with which this data is going to be valuable. And I guess for us, the way that we do that is, or the way that we suggest you do that is that you for each project has to stand on its own. So you don't have a project that just is designed to collect data. The project has to actually stand on its own to provide an immediate ROI, and the added benefit is the data collection that you get at the end of it. So as I was mentioning, some of the councils we're working with, they might do decorative lighting upgrades, so that rather than having their staff drive out to each park to turn the lights on the Christmas colors, as we mentioned,
Yeah.
they can do that from their office, or the events team can schedule in a year's worth of events. And as someone phones up and says, can you make the lights purple on Tuesday? They can just go online, click a button, and all the lights in the city become purple on Tuesday. So
Yeah.
that project provides an immediate ROI, because now you don't have to have council workers driving around turning the lights on purple on Tuesday. It happens automatically. So,
and then I guess doing a bit of the checking as well, right? So all the lights are purple and they're all working, and schedule maintenance around the display colors so that you're not interrupting, Christmas with fixing of lights.
Yeah, exactly. Monitoring the light, voltage, current, whatever, identifying if the light is healthy, allowing the maintenance people to go out there and push a button and have the light cycle through its colors. So there's all these added benefits operationally, but also collecting the data for power usage. Which lights are using lots of power? Should we be replacing these with different types of lights? Or is there some other way we can offset the energy used by these lights? Can we change the time they turn on and off? What time are people at the park? All these sort of things can be added once you've got that data. But the key is that you've got the immediate ROI. So all of that other stuff is a bonus. The council can still approve the project immediately.
Okay, I have one more question for you both, and then we'll switch over to audience questions. So if anyone's got a question for Chris or Trevor, please pop it into the chat or Q&A. So for both of you, and Chris, if you want to go first, how do we vet solutions? So how can an organization make sure that their solutions, their IoT and AI solutions, are to standard? What are the standards? And similarly, how can a city or other organization vet their solution providers?
Yeah, good question. Well, from an AI perspective, I specialize in AI computer vision that Trevor spoke about. Our job, is to provide a framework for, Smart AI's job is to vet and provide a framework for deployment and compliance and ethics and governance of those AI applications. So in Trevor's case, if Trevor came to me and said, I've got this problem in the city, I've got a privacy issue, I can't, about cameras, you put our framework in place, it solves all those problems. 90% of your problems with privacy, responsibility, ethics and considerations and risks for doing that are solved. And then the data from our system would then be shot out to Trevor's for making decisions across the system. So I think with respect to AI, and this is not just computer vision, which we focus on, security systems inside an organization. I'm going to give everyone another example. Another city came to me and said, can you develop a hooning algorithm for burnouts? We've got a hooning algorithm, right? I said, here you go. Here's our hooning algorithm, right? Our AI hooning algorithm. They said, we're used to running that. Yeah, okay. I said, no, you can run it on the edge. You can run it on all 1,000 cameras at your traffic intersections.
Wow.
They went, holy moly. How, we're used to running AI on 1 or 2 sites. Now we've got 1,000 AI applications out there doing hooning detection. How are we going to maintain the responsibility of and reporting on that? And where is the data going to go, and what are people going to do with it? So it's data's for data's sake, but you've got to put frameworks in place for the risk and compliance first in AI, and then make sure that those return on investments to other systems make sense, right? There's no good running off and doing this. And I can guarantee you right now, if I sat down in a city all the time and said, can you tell me all the AI you run? They have no idea, right? So just look at your backyard right now, right? Understand what you're doing. That's the most important thing. That's on Trevor's side of things as well. So I hope that answers it. So I think the most important thing for a city is to take baby steps and work with strategic partners to put those frameworks in place to enable the technology to apply,
Beautiful. And Trevor, anything you want to add there?
No, that's right. I think definitely picking some strategic partners and working closely with them is the key to a lot of this stuff. A lot of the way councils procure, assets, it makes it very difficult to pick a strategic partner, because each asset you buy has to be, whoever the vendor is will specify whatever they want to provide you for that asset. And it's very hard for a council to say, okay, well, you provide this asset, but you must use this company to provide the governance, or this company to provide the analytics, or this company to provide the data security. So I guess that's been very challenging. But I think the only way these sort of solutions work is if you do pick some strategic partners that have experience in the area and work with them to really ensure that all of the things that you're doing are aligned, and that at the end of this you'll have not only working assets, which you would have had no matter which vendor you picked, but you'll have the added benefit of having all this data collection and analysis that you can then use to optimize and maintain your city a lot more effectively.
Yeah. Okay. There is another question here for Trevor. With the rapid growth of IoT point solutions and exponential growth in data, what can cities do to future-proof their architecture?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, really. But I think, again, similar to that previous question, you really need to work with someone who knows what they're doing and has done this before. It doesn't work, all of the IoT hardware that you install. So we're doing all sorts of projects at the moment. We've got some councils that want to install toilet paper monitoring sensors, so they know how much toilet paper people are using, and then they can use predictive analytics to reorder consumables. So they're going down to sort of that micro
really
level
granular.
now. Yeah, very, very granular. And the good thing, I guess, now at the state of most of this IoT technology is it's pretty commoditized. So you can get probably a toilet paper monitoring sensor. I don't know.
Probably.
But, you can monitor how much water people are using, how many times they use the tap, and how much consumables they're consuming. All that information is pretty commoditized now, and you can get all of that back. The key to ensuring that you can do something useful with it is to have a standardized platform that, and there's, as I said, that we do one, but there's obviously lots out there. A standardized platform that provides all the functionality that you'll need going forward, and working with that vendor to really ensure that you're making the most of their hardware and software. And so, that's the only real way to future-proof it. The stuff down the bottom is pretty commoditized, but the platform at the top is the one that you're going to have to live with for 10 or 15 or 20 years. So you really need to find a partner you trust and really work with them to ensure that you get to where you want to go.
Well, I mean, what Chris said about data for data's sake is so true as well. Having a very clear reason for collecting data in the first place is probably one of the keys to making sure that it's relevant down the line and continues to be managed, plus then solid frameworks that underpin it.
Yeah. And I mean, everything's smart now. So they got smart bins, they got smart barbecues. I said they got smart amenities blocks. They got everything is now smart. So there's no shortage of data. But is it relevant, and how can we use it to improve the what the city does and improve for our residents?
It's probably one reason why we focus so heavily on computer vision, because we, like in next year, to give everyone an idea about AI and camera vision, I know one of the major manufacturers will not ship a camera without an AI chip in it next year.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Right. So all cameras from 2024 and 2025 will have AI processors in it. So that means, like in some cases of Trevor's thing, if you've got a commodity throughout a city that's you're already paying an asset for computer vision, why am I optimizing that for delivering data? A wheelchair, how many wheelchair people use this? I want a wheelchair algorithm, and swapping and putting in different AI applications for understanding, like how many black Labradors were in the park this week, right? Next week, I want to know how many Labradoodles are worth.
Yeah.
So the important thing, like Trevor says, is understanding what data sets I have and what platforms I can extract the valuable information, and managing AI. And AI will come like a road train. I can tell you right now, in the next 12 to 24 months, a lot of applications will be developed so fast that and how you apply those is going to be key.
So so Australia's recently joined what is it called? The announcement was the Bletchley Declaration, is that correct? That was signed during the AI Safety Summit. Do you think that's going to help with putting in place appropriate guardrails?
Yeah, like how everyone asks me, how does this guide rails for AI work, right? Whether it's computer vision AI or security cameras and other things. Like the international, I'll post a whole list, Trevor. Like you'll love it too. Like of a lot of the standards that are coming out, and the ISO standard for AI is in draft. I think it'll hit the There's a lot of ISO standards, but the major one will hit the will be published around Q1, Q2 next year. Whether it's that agreement between all the cities and the different countries, whether it's Singapore, Australia, US, the EU is definitely leading the way. They've got a draft policy out now. It will be implemented at sometime next year or early 2025. And those ISO standards will help you meet that regulatory requirements. The same will happen in Australia. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's going to filter down from the ISO standards to Australian standards, and the New South Wales AI assurance framework that was built, I can see like the writing on the wall that type of framework will most likely look to be, and I'll put a link up for that, about how to implement AI inside a city responsibly. Right. So don't worry, don't stress about it, everyone. Like there's going to be, just like ISO 27001 and all that, there's going to be these standards 42001 next year that'll help have those guidelines for everyone to follow. And if you just implement those procedures and following those guidelines with AI across any organization or any companies that are using it, then you'll follow your risk and cybersecurity processes, right? That everyone has to implement now.
Yeah. Okay, so if there are no more comments from the or questions from the audience, so I'll ask Trevor if you have any parting thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, this I guess the popularity in some ways of AI and the rise in the government or governance requirements that are coming through. That's the one thing that always scares me about this sort of field. And I guess one thing that we have also been focusing on, just because of some of this, is to try and ensure that we don't lock ourselves into any of the, I guess, the major vendors in a big way. So, not because you just don't know what is going to be acceptable and what's not going to be acceptable. Can we store our data? Do we have to store our data on premises again, which everyone used to do? Or, is the cloud going to be safe? Or if any, geopolitical changes happen, is it going to be problematic for us? So being able to ensure that when where you store your data, how you process the data, where's that processing happening, is very flexible, so we can move it around if we need to, or even bring it back onto premises if we need to, is something that we've been working, I guess, very hard on, because of all of these unknowns that are coming in the future, I guess. So I think, yeah, that's one of the considerations when people are looking at, which platform or what services to procure for some of these some of this asset management or analytics, is, if we do need to change for whatever reason, how difficult will that be? And is that even possible in some cases?
Yeah, and it's not even planning, you don't want to plan to leave a vendor. It could just be planning to incorporate something new that we just haven't anticipated yet.
Yeah.
Chris, any parting thoughts from you?
No, I agree. I just think one thing that everyone should do is like take a big deep breath. Like, it's not overwhelming, and look after your cybersecurity teams. I think those type of people are very stressed inside organizations. And I think just managing and taking a step-by-step approach in this. And there, like I say, like there are guidelines out there now that in AI and all that are helping people. And this is at the CIO level and CTO level. And I think if you embrace AI going forward as a city, that's going to be a real smart city, right? It's going to be the first time that these IoT systems and vision systems in cities meet together and start to really make a difference.
Beautifully put. Not a question, but a comment from Peter in the Q&A to say thank you and well done to Chris and Trevor for providing leadership in this space, which I would like to echo. And Jared's just popped a note up to say great to see a genuine consideration of ethics, ROI, and not just collecting data for the sake of it. So I think those are two really good comments to wrap this up with. So thank you so much to Chris and Trevor for your time. We'll have a recording and some session notes out to everyone, and I look forward to chatting again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.